Welcome to the lectures of this self-knowledge course. Today we have the lecture number 4 of the phase B of this course. And in today's lecture, we are going to learn about mental unfolding, which is a practice through which we are going to be able to ascend from the astral plane to the mental plane. Both of these worlds, the astral and the mental worlds, belong to the fifth dimension. So we are going to learn how can we unfold ourselves to the mental plane. And we are going to see how useful is this practice for our process of self-knowledge. Remember that if you have any question, you can leave them in the comment box and we will be gladly solving any all of your concerns. And also, if you want to be part of our WhatsApp group where we share complementary material of each one of the topics of the self-knowledge course for free, you can find the link on the description of this video. Okay, well, let's then start to talk about this very interesting topic. Let me just 1 second. Let me put this over here and let's start. Well, in order for us to better understand this topic, let's remember that we have a sevenfold constitution. We are multi-dimensional beings because of our 7 bodies. Okay, our 7 bodies are what can allow us to move in the different dimensions of nature. For each one of those worlds that belongs to those dimensions, we have a correspondent body that can allow us to move in that dimension. 5 of these 7 bodies are currently in a lunar state due to our fallen state because of our degenerative condition. We have the physical body and the vital body, yes, already created. They belong to the 3rd and the 4th dimension respectively, and although we have them fully developed if we are adults, they are actually subject to illness, to pain, to decrepitude, and to death, thanks to our fallen condition, thanks to our egoic condition. And we have not fully developed the astral, mental, and causal bodies, but of them we only have like a principle or an embryo, can we say, of those 3 bodies. Okay, our embryo or principle of astral body is what allows us to feel, since the astral plane is the plane of the emotions, and our embryo of mental body is what allows us to think, and our embryo of causal body or body of will is what allows us to have the will to deny ourselves to satisfy the desires of our ego. And with these body principles, we can also, through the verification practices that we teach in this course, we can consciously unfold ourselves to these dimensions and we can move in the lunar part of them. Allow me just a second to check if everything is okay with the audio.
Through the verification.
It's okay. Thank you. Well, and with these practices, using these bodies consciously, we can unfold ourselves to these worlds, to these dimensions, and move in the lunar part of those dimensions because the bodies are in a lunar state. But there we can carry out important investigations. And these experiences will allow us not only to verify and be certain of the work that we are doing, but also to know directly how our inner world is, because we are unfolding to our inner world, to our internal dimensions, and there we can obtain information that will help us a lot in our inner work. Okay, but you will see that the unfoldings that we could perform with our lunar bodies are not 100% objective, although they manage to be very clear sometimes and conscious. They have those components of instability, and that sensation that it is like a dream. That is because our bodies are lunar and we are moving in the lunar part of those dimensions, and hence the importance of developing these bodies, passing them from their lunar state to a solar state. And it's important to create them completely through the wise use of our sexual creative energy, through the practice of suprasex that we have taught several times in this course, and that we are going to continue talking about suprasex in later lectures. And when we have created the solar astral body, for example, then we can move at will in the solar part of that lower fifth dimension or astral world and visit all the temples of wisdom and places that exist in the solar part of the astral world. And with the solar mental body, when we already create our solar mental body, we can move objectively and consciously in the solar part of the mental world, which is the upper part of the fifth dimension. And with the solar causal body, we can move in the solar part of the lower sixth dimension or causal world. Remember that the Buddhic and Atmic bodies that belong to the upper sixth dimension and seventh dimension, respectively, are completely created and they are already in a solar state, but we are currently disconnected from that superior part. When we get to lift all our fallen part, when we solarize our emotion, our mind, and our will, we will rejoin these superior bodies, okay? And we must understand that each of these bodies belongs to a particular plane, and we move in that plane with its corresponding body, okay? Having remembered this point of the seven bodies, let's see what mental unfolding is. And let's learn this very simple technique that we can use to unfold ourselves to the mental plane. We have already learned in different lectures on this self-knowledge course to achieve a conscious astral projection or conscious astral unfolding. It is actually the same. That is the practice through which we take out our interior double or astral body to move consciously and at will in the astral world or lower fifth dimension. It is something totally common. Astral projection, astral unfolding is something that happens to us every time that our physical body falls asleep. We unfold ourselves, but unconsciously, to the fifth dimension, the lower fifth dimension or astral world. And as we are unconscious there, we go there projecting our desires, projecting our dreams, and we are there dreaming. That is what we know as the world of dreams. We go there every day. But the important thing, and what we have been learning in this course, is to do that process consciously, to get out of the physical body, leaving our physical body sleeping in bed, and getting out of the physical body with our astral body, totally conscious that we have left the body, and so that we can move consciously and at will in that astral plane, not going there to project, to dream, but to live the reality because we are conscious. That is the astral projection or astral unfolding, okay? The mental unfolding consists of already conscious in the astral plane being able to take out another inner double, which is our mental body. And with that body, being able to move at will in the upper part of the fifth dimension, which is the mental world or mental plane. Let's remember that dimensions are levels of consciousness. That is to say that all the dimensions are here and now. And as we move in increasingly subtle bodies, there are fewer laws. Therefore, there is more freedom, and we can then carry out deeper investigations. So basically, unfolding ourselves to the mental plane is doing like a double unfolding, or you can say a double projection, unfolding ourselves to the astral plane and from there unfolding ourselves to the mental plane. If you don't know yet how to project yourself to the astral plane, I suggest you to search for the previous lecture last Sunday, we were talking about astral projection, about the practice of astral projection, because it is important that you are there already unfolded in the astral world so that you can unfold yourself to the mental world. Okay, something important. Many people have experienced this process of unfolding themselves or projecting themselves, whatever is the same, to the mental world, but unconsciously through what is known as a false awakening. Maybe that happened to you. Uh, that happened to me. What we know, for example, as a dream within a dream. That is when the person is having a dream, feels like he wakes up, does things, and even tells someone, hey, you know what, I just dreamed something very crazy, for example, and then wakes up again. But now, yes, in the physical plane. What happened there is that the person unconsciously found himself unfolded in the mental plane. He was moving with the mental body, and the first time he woke up, he was still unfolded, but now on the astral plane with his astral body. And the second time that he woke up, now, yes, he woke up in the physical body. That is doing an unconscious mental unfolding. But the idea is that we learn to make the process of going up to the mental plane consciously, because we will see that this plane has some very interesting characteristics. For example, as that world or mental plane is governed by only 12 laws, half the laws of the astral world, which is governed by 24 laws. Here in the mental plane, we will experience a greater freedom of movement. You can see that here, for example, in the physical world, if we jump, we fall back to the floor heavily, because within the 48 laws that governs the physical world is, for example, the law of gravity, which is the law that attracts us magnetically to the center of the earth. So we cannot like go and fly here or jump and remain floating. We can't. That law doesn't exist in those superior dimensions. Therefore, there we can float, we can fly there, we can do that. The laws that regulate time and space here in the physical plane, there in the, for example, a astral mental world don't exist. And in here in the physical world, for us to go from one place to another, it will take us a certain amount of time depending on the speed on which we move. But in these higher dimensions, it is different. There we can move at the speed of thought that we can do in the mental plane. We just focus on a place, we imagine ourselves there, and basically we will teleport to that place. That is because we are beyond fewer laws in that mental plane. But not only to a place, but there we can also move through time with that same ease. So, in contrast to this physical world and its 48 laws, the mental plane has only 12 laws. So, the freedom of movement experience with the mental body is actually incredible. And well, let me just a second. Well, another interesting feature that is that we find there in the mental plane is that this is the world of atoms. And as it is the world of atoms, is different of the physical plane. The physical plane is cellular in nature because our physical body is made up of cells, and the astral plane is molecular. And our mental body is made up of atoms, so it's totally different. For example, our astral body, as it is made up of only molecules. With that body, you can, for example, go through walls, or you can stretch yourself infinitely. But the mental plane is even more subtle because it is atomic. And something very interesting is to observe that molecules are composed of many atoms. You can see that. So, something that we are going to see as a difference between the astral and the mental unfolding is that in the astral plane, we are going to perceive our psychological defects, our eyes, as a unit, as a molecule, because in the astral plane or emotional world, each one of our inner desires or selves is presented as an entity, like a person, like an animal, like a demon, but one. If you see, for example, a bull, you're seeing your defect of anger. If you see, for example, a monkey in your dreams or consciously in the astral plane, you're actually seeing, observing your masturbator self. That is, for example, the monkey. Uh, for example, in the astral plane, we could find our own impatience as a person with its characteristic impatience. We could see like a yellow self as a yellow person in the astral plane. Instead, when we move towards the mental plane, up to the mental plane, our psychological defects are no longer seen as a unit, as a molecule, because just like each molecule is made up of many atoms, and each negative emotion that we feel is made up of many negative thoughts. Likewise, on the mental plane, that impatient self, for example, is going to present itself to us as a multitude of people who are each one of the details that make up our impatience. And that is something very useful to us, very useful for our inner work of self-knowledge and of psychological depth. It is fundamental. Since, as we saw in the conference 27 of Phase A, where we talk about the details, progress in psychological depth occurs when we learn to observe and eliminate the small details that make up each of our negative ways of being. And that is an important characteristic of the mental plane. Another characteristic that is also very useful to us is the fact that the defect that has its seat in the mental plane is pride. And just as we, out of pride, talk all the time about ourselves, and we are all the time looking for someone to tell them the good and the bad that has happened to us. And due to our pride, we are so talkative that many times we end up telling intimate things and things that is not convenient for us to tell, falling into indiscretion. Exactly the same is the attitude of each one of our psychological defects on the mental plane. If we are, for example, studying our fornicating self because we understand the need to stop taking out our sexual creative energy, if in the mental plane we go consciously and, for example, we call our fornicating self, many people will arrive with different characteristics, and each of them, moved by pride, will be very eager to tell us everything we want to know. And that is something very useful for our inner work. We will see there different details. For example, if we talk about fornication, we are going to see, for example, many people come and we can find one that represents lewdness, which is a detail of fornication. Another one is going to be representing pornography. Another oral sex, another details of anxiety, and you're going to be that anxious person there, for example. Another seduction, another sentimentality. In short, a multitude of people can arrive, which are the parts of the details that make up that self, which is the fornicator self. That is self. That is why it is good that when we are going to do this type of research, when we unfold ourselves to the mental plane to investigate on a certain psychological defect, to progress in the work of psychological depth on that defect, to get information from them, it is important that we call small details. For example, instead of calling the fornicating eye itself, which is enormous, which is made up of many details, probably thousands of details, it's better that we specifically call a detail like, for example, the eye of nocturnal emissions or the masturbator cell, for example. And there will be a group of people, yes, but smaller. And the information that we can get from them by observing them, because just by observing them, we get information, but also by talking to them will be very useful in a reflective meditation on that defect. Okay, so this technique is going to be very useful to us when we feel, for example, stuck in the psychological work on a defect, because if we do this, we are going to be able to see more details about it and continue delving into the comprehension of that defect until we completely eliminate it and we free ourselves from that defect. And another utility that mental unfolding has is that through this practice we can identify the progress that we are having in the psychological work that we are doing on a certain defect. Because when we do this practice, for example, we are working on certain defect and we do this practice and there we call that psychological self in the astral plane, you are going to see how some details will be injured or are going to appear like sick or already dead. And that is because you are working on that self. You are asking for death to those details, and you can see that in the mental plane. But we must keep in mind that we shouldn't go to the mental world to fight with our defects. The fight is going to be here in the physical world. Here we're going to ask for death for the defects that we can observe and understand. But there we are just going to investigate them. There we would get to know, we could sit with them and ask them questions, and we would get to know how they are feeding from us, how we are feeding them, everything in detail. Okay, and it is important not to be afraid, because they are not going to hurt us. Even so, some of them can be very ugly, because our psychological defects can be very ugly. Actually, we shouldn't be afraid when doing this practice. And when we wake up, it's important to take note and interpret the experience that we have. Okay, and well, now the practice to unfold ourselves to the mental plane, you're going to see that it's extremely simple. It consists of first unfolding to the astral plane. Yes, that is the first step, and it's important. You need to be in the astral plane to unfold yourself to the mental plane. And once you do this by performing, for example, any of the astral unfolding techniques that we have taught in the course, when you are already there consciously unfolded in the astral plane, you are going to order your astral body with a strong voice, with a commanding voice. Astral body, get out of me. And while you say this, you are going to jump forward at the same time that you act as you are removing like a coat, okay? As if you are shaking off your astral body. And that way, you're going to remain in your mental body, okay? You're going to be there, now projected with your mental body. Once you are located in the mental body, you are going to be able to consciously move into the mental plane, because when you are already in the mental body, you are already in the mental plane. Everything will look exactly the same, but when you move, you will experience more freedom in movement. And if you call, for example, one of your psychological defects, prepare to see a crowd coming, because internally you're gonna see we are a legion. Okay, the astral body and the mental bodies are both in the fifth dimension. They are two bodies of the same dimension. Therefore, this operation is very easy there. Thus, when the two bodies, the astral and the mental, are separated, actually both bodies can talk to each other as two people do in the physical world, each with his own consciousness, and one sees there the difference from one body to the other. Okay, so it is that easy. You are already conscious in the astral world. You order your astral body, get out of me, with that commanding voice, while you shake off that astral body. There, you're going to be in your mental body, and you're going to be able to move at will in the mental world. And well, that is the practice. As you can see, something very, very simple. Just encourage yourself to do this, to experience this by yourself. And well, now to finish this lecture, I want to remind you of the importance of creating the solar mental body. As long as the legitimate astral body has not been fabricated, it is not possible to access the solar part of the astral world. And so it is with the mental body. In the lunar mental world, we cannot thoroughly investigate because everything is like a dream, it's illusory. There is much deception. On the other hand, in the solar part, everything is reality. So it is important that we understand that working with our sexual energy is what will make us be able to fully awaken our consciousness in the different dimensions. And we need to use all those essences, all that energy that we are constantly rescuing with the practice of psychological death, through the suprasex practice, invest them in the regeneration and fabrication of our own solar bodies. Okay? And well, people, this has been today's topic. I hope it has been as clear as possible. Anyways, if you have any question, remember to leave them in the comments and we will be gladly solving any concern that you have. And well, I want to leave you. Remember that practice makes perfect. And I want to leave you with the invitation to our next lecture of Facebook next Sunday, in which we are going to be talking about alchemy. Very interesting topic titled The Balance of the Centers and the Fabrication of Mercuries. A topic of utmost importance to gain access to the initiatory path that must lead us to the intimate self-realization of our being. So don't miss that very, very interesting lecture. And thank you very much to all of you for watching this video, for sharing this self-knowledge course with others also. And well, this has been all for today. Thank you very much and see you the next time.